Would you look at that? It's 2022. We finally made it. Happy New Year here as we get ready for a new episode of Inside IUE Sports. I'm your host, Travis Lang, and we start out with a crucial player, at least you could say, but he's not exactly an athlete. This is Ian Dillman here. He's part of many events here at IUE that pertain to sports, and one of those events is SAAC. Now, what does SAAC stand for?
SAAC stands for Student Athlete Advisory Committee.
And I mean, I've seen it on campus a few times. The program has been involved at IU East for many, many years. But what does SAAC do?
SAAC is only open to athletes. So each team, they will nominate 2 people from their team, of course, to go and represent them. And for tennis, there's usually only like 2 because one from women's and one from men's. And what SAAC usually does, we always plan the end of the year banquet where we give out awards to athletes, like who was the most improved, who was the best incoming freshman, coach of the year award, and we always put that on. So we always try to do like fundraisers for getting money to fund that, of course.
And you mentioned that you used to be an officer. So what did that entail? As an officer of SAAC, what did you do for the program?
So yeah, actually, my freshman year I ran for the social media chair and I lost it. And then at the end of the year, I kind of got myself into that chair whenever the person wasn't fulfilling their duties. So they said, well, we need someone to do it. So I took over, and from that point on, I did like athlete spotlights where I just highlight a senior from each team, hopefully. And then I also tried to do this Instagram takeover where I'd give out the social media account to a soccer player or hopefully like a basketball player, and they do like a day in the life of what they do during like a game day. And so that's what I would try to do as my role in communications. And
how did you get involved in that? Like, what was your thought process behind that? Are you a big social media fan? Like, what was your skill set going into that?
I just like social media. I really had no background or whatever in that. I was just nominated from my coaches to go to be on SAAC, and I was like, well, I'm a freshman, so I want to do something to get more involved. So I thought, well, running for a chair would be like a good idea. And so the easiest for me was social media.
And now that you've gotten a little bit more experience in the program, there have been a couple ideas this year that have been floated around for different fundraisers and such. There was actually a Chipotle fundraiser event that was just recently, at least in December recently. So tell me a little bit about that. How does planning a fundraiser like that happen? Like, what are the moving parts?
So we always have bi-weekly meetings, and one time we came up, because like I was the only one returning basically in SAAC, and I wasn't running for an officer position, which kind of put them backwards some. So they were like, we have no idea. We've never been on SAAC before. So I was like, well, this is what we've done. We went to Texas Roadhouse. We've done Chipotle. We've done B-Dubs. We've done all these fundraisers. But Chipotle is always our go-to because it's so easy to get it set up because they're so awesome there.
And have you ever had any restaurant that's like, I don't know if I want to do this? Like, have you had any pushback?
Not recently, because we kind of just go with like what's common and what's easiest for people. Like, we know Chipotle is going to be the biggest one because it's not something you have to go and sit down at, and you can always just get it to go. Texas Roadhouse are so easy to work with, but anyone that's new, they're always like, well, we got to do this, this, and this, and jump through all those hoops, whereas all these other restaurants where we're familiar with, they're like, yeah, just come on in, we'll get the date set up and everything like that. It's super easy.
And apart from a fundraiser like this, I know there have been some ideas that have been floating around within the program. Is there anything that you're willing to share about upcoming fundraisers or any ideas?
I don't want to give too much away because we always like to be a surprise, and there's always some in the works, but there for sure will be another Chipotle fundraiser coming up.
That's good. And do you have any future goals for the program itself, apart from just fundraising?
One of our main goals, like I said, is setting up the end of the year banquet, so that'll be our spring focus when we're going to shift to it, where each chair will get like a department in the committee. So like someone would do decorations, some would do awards, stuff like that. So that's going to be our next main goal in the spring.
And apart from SAAC, you're also involved with the Howl Crowd, which has been at many IU East home games, from volleyball to basketball and stuff like that. How in the world did you get involved with Howl Crowd?
Well, my sophomore year, my friend Mackenzie Cook, who's also on the tennis team, she was an officer in that, and I think she was treasurer at the time, and they didn't have a social media person again. So she was like, hey, my friend, he does social media for SAAC, and Taylor McKinney, who started the club, she was like, yeah, just get him on. And so I started out there, and then I ran again as president, got the gig, and then that's how I started off. It was all because of Mackenzie Cook. If it wasn't for her, I would never have joined Howl Crowd.
And as president, what do you do? How do you organize Howl Crowd as a huge group of people?
It's so difficult, especially with COVID and everything, because before COVID, we were just like a year old, then COVID came up and just destroyed everything that we were working on, and so basically we're back at square one with like what works for the people, what doesn't work for the people, and so one of our main struggles is getting more people involved, because I don't know if it's just whenever we do like finals, midterms, or if it's just COVID in general that people are just hesitant to like come out to events. We tried doing like a halftime game show like tic-tac-toe. We thought that'd be a great idea for students to like kind of make an idiot of themselves, but apparently the students were smarter than that. We had some old people sign up for it, but sadly they didn't get to play. But we're always like looking around for new ideas on how to get more students involved.
And if you are a student here at IU East, how would you be able to get involved in Howl Crowd?
So there's multiple ways. You can always go to our social media and like direct message us, or just talk to me or one of our officers personally. One thing that we're always pushing for is going to Pack Life and just joining on there, because we always check that weekly whenever we do our officer meetings. And then we're also, I think, just like, again, like I said, just talking to us personally, because we can just get you involved no matter what.
Now, you mentioned some of the halftime events that you've planned out and you've done before, but the big thing is that you guys give out prizes, which not a lot of students recognize. What are some prizes that you've given out before in past Howl Crowd events?
So we've given out 2 JBL speakers, and not just like any series, like the latest series, of course. We try to get it some bougie in it. Then we got a Nintendo Switch Lite. I think we were talking about doing an Apple Watch, but that was a little bit on the pricier side, so that might be for a next year prize. And then I think one of our other ones was a movie night setup where we had a heated blanket, a movie bowl, popcorn, and then some candy, of course.
And does that funding come from SGA or the student government here at IU East, or does it come from something else?
So it's kind of complicated the way I understand it. So like Howl Crowd, we get our own funding, and then if we want additional funding, we would go to SGA. But we have our own personal set of budget that we spend throughout the year. So
you're pretty much an individual entity, so to speak, in IU East, but you can also ask for aid if you need it.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. We can just be like, oh, we're going to go out and get this. We don't need to go and ask for funding. We can just go out and get the card and just go and buy it. It's pretty nice.
And in terms of Howl Crowd and some of the upcoming games, because we're still right in the middle of basketball season, are there other Howl Crowd events that you're planning?
Oh yeah, we're constantly planning some. I think one halftime game show was we used tricycles, like a race, because I think Rebecca in Pack Life, I think she has some, or Student Life, I should say, has some tricycles that we're going to use. But with students being gone, we might need to open it up to the adult fan base as well, so just to see them make an idiot of themselves too.
So, okay, so students, well, that's a really interesting question too, because it's really only been students, but are you allowed to pull from different demographics in the crowd?
We might have to, considering that none of the students wanted to do the halftime game, so we saw a lot of interest from adults and the parents and stuff, so we thought, well, hey, we might need to open up to them, and they came down to our tables at the previous games in the winter and was like, ooh, you guys are giving away shirts. And we're like, well, they're really for students. We're like, oh, my son's playing in the game. I'm like, okay, go ahead and take it for him. And you're like, well, here's a donation as well. So we greatly appreciate them as well. So we might as well just get them involved somehow. Yeah.
And if people are allowed to donate, is there a way that they can donate to the program?
They can just give us money, and then we're going put it in the correct account. We're trustworthy like that.
All right, I hope so, at least.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. And, talking about all these different things that you've been involved with, you mentioned that really social media, you never really fully expected to be a part of it, but you got thrown into being a social media manager for 2 different organizations. Now you're president of Howl Crowd. You've been basically thrown into the fire, and you've made really 2 great programs. So do you have any advice for somebody that might be a freshman on campus, or they're really trying to just get invested and involved? How do they get involved in the stuff here at IU East?
So Rebecca does a really great job about doing it back with the pack in the fall, and it's a great way where all of the clubs can go and show off who they are, because I not only run Howl Crowd or involved in SAAC, I also run another club, CDIN, and so we got a lot of our members through that. We also do a lot of advertising on social media, and that's how we get, for like both my clubs too, that's how I get a lot of our members. And Howl Crowd was fortunate enough to have a lot of previous members too from teams, so that's how we got a lot of our members and everything like that. But if you're just not an athletic club at all, back with the pack, or anytime we come back from in a semester, they always do a great job of showing off the clubs that they have. And so that's how you're going to get a lot of your members and just get involved. Like, because when I was a freshman, I wasn't really involved, like I said, until I started doing these officer roles. And I wish I did sooner because you make a lot of great friends, especially upperclassmen who are like, I'm done being an officer, I'm going to pass it on to a freshman. So we always need someone who can always help out.
Yeah, and also, too, Rebecca Hester with Pack Life, she's also a very instrumental part of what goes on.
Oh my gosh, yes. She's always putting in her opinion, and it's always 10 times better than like what anyone else can like think of. And she always has like all these extra ideas that are just like, well, why didn't I think of that? Because she's just been in the game longer than us.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Ian, for joining us on the show. Good luck with SAAC, and also good luck with Howl Crowd, too.
Thank you.
Because we've got plenty more athletic events coming up here soon.
All right, thank you so much.
We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.